Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast with Bob from Clash Miami. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by SFuels, HOKA, Master Spas, deboer, wetsuits, Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our hosts for the weekend, Mr. Bill Christy and Andre Lapar, are with us. Guys, when I look around and I see we've got World Triathlon, I see USA Triathlon, America's Triathlon, PTO, you name it. This is like we talked about years ago. This is a three-ring circus at the racetrack.
I think Andre would call it more than a three-ring circus.
I think we're up to a seven-ring circus.
You're seven rings up. So you're putting the elephants out back? What are you doing there?
A little bit of everything. My guys are ready to kill me, but we're bringing, as you just named, some of the biggest race organizations in the endurance space in triathlon, and we'll have some of the biggest and brightest athletes racing with us here this weekend.
What I saw was Friday morning, you've got the America's Triathlon, so you've got the Olympians and Olympians going off that morning. Then at 10 is the Paralympians, who will actually be able to check their box to go to Paris if they win their category. And that's not including the age group stuff you have going over the weekend, sprint race, Olympic race, and the same time, the main feature is the first ever T100, which will launch on Saturday afternoon and evening. So, Bill, when you look back on where this silly thing started at Daytona Speedway a number of years ago, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, we always knew that we had the ability, and you said it, right? Let's create a playground.
It's a playground.
And so I think Andre has done a good job of creating the biggest playground ever, right?
I like to say we have a really big sandbox, and we invite all the cool kids out to bring their toys and see if we can all play well together.
So, Andre, for you, you come from sort of putting on Ironman events, which you thought were pretty complicated. Then you thought, well, shorter's got to be easier. What's the big deal?
But yeah, it's different. I mean, shorter Ironman is a great brand, amazing events.
Yes.
They're some of the best at what they do. But it's one big, massive event on one day. We have our individual races are smaller. We're doing stuff for elites contained. So in the case of the para-triathlon, we have 40 some odd athletes racing. But again, these are some of the best in the Americas trying to go to Paris. So it's a different feel, different look. And it's a different workload, you know, to say you put on a race for 40 people, but our build out is no smaller than the other events. I mean, as you can see what's going on, and our venues are nothing short of stunning. And then we just follow up race after race after race to let everybody get a piece of the action and cross that magic finish line.
Well, and you would think that, oh my God, it's got to be a lot easier. You got a controlled environment, you're on the track, you don't have to worry about blocking off roads and all the rest of that stuff. But it's still incredibly complicated.
Well, if you think about it.
Yeah.
We put on 24 races a year. So if you go by normal standards, that's 24 weekends.
2 venues.
That's 2 venues.
Oh, my God. Yes. And that's not including you've got camping going on. You've got people in motorhomes. There's a lot of stuff happening. So, Bill, we were talking earlier. We have sort of a fractured community in triathlon, right? You've got Ironman and Ironman 70.3. You've got Super League. We've got obviously Clash, Daytona, and Miami. You got PTO, T100, Challenge Family, and they're all great. Everybody's doing great stuff. But you're a guy through NASCAR, you understand TV. You understand TV rights. And when people start talking about, we're putting on triathlon and we're going to get paid by NBC and CBS we're going to get rights fees, like golf and tennis and baseball and NFL. And I have always been one saying, I've never seen it happen in triathlon. Ironman is the biggest brand. They pay $250,000 to get television.
That was non-primetime. Primetime was
non-primetime, exactly. So how do we make our sport, how do we get to that point where we get rights fees?
A little bit of data behind that,
yes,
because I think that's important. The leagues that do get paid to be on TV, the National Football League,
yes,
Division I college football, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, of course, pro golf, the NBA, hockey, men's and women's tennis,
yes,
Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, and the Olympics.
Yes.
They get paid to be on TV.
Yeah.
Everybody else writes a check.
They do, right?
Period.
Yes.
And, you know, I've been lucky enough to hang out with some folks, and again, this data is pretty firm, that when I talked about rights fees and when I talked about media rights in general, what I hear is one solid theme, and it's about people sitting on the couch and being able to depend on Monday Night Football. If they're sitting on the couch and they've got a beverage in their hand, they know that they're going to see Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football.
Right.
Saturday, college D1 game day. Women's and men's tennis. Women at 5 o'clock on Saturday for a championship. Sunday, men, 5 o'clock championship. So that pattern is the key to this business. And unfortunately, we don't have any one of us in and of ourselves even creating 20 properties enough to attract TV dollars. You look at the series of endurance motorsports. They've got quite a few properties, and they all pay to be on TV. So what my feeling is, and I sort of have obviously some strong feelings here, but I don't believe we will be successful independently. I think the sum of the ones is the only way this is going to work. And I do not believe that it's going to be on linear TV or cable TV. You look at who's successful, and it's Red Bull. So if we can come together with all endurance sports, and I mean, we're talking about mountain biking, we're talking about gravel riding, we're talking about triathlon, we're talking about all of it.
You mean competitor TV? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what it is.
Bob's hitting us with the Wayback Machine. I think that was founded in 1987.
Boy, did he call you out?
Oh my God! But that was really one of the whole idea was to put everything under one umbrella, and
Correct.
we did an endurance awards. We honored runners, triathletes, cyclists, mountain bikers. If the key is that if you're a mountain biker or if you're a runner, you suffer for a living. That's what you do. There's a camaraderie and a fraternity and sorority of suffering. So you put all this stuff under one umbrella, there's way more similarities than there are differences.
And that's ultimately how triathlon started, right?
Absolutely.
Who's in better shape, the swimmers, the cyclists, or the runners? And we're still debating that to this day.
Exactly.
But there's something to be said for that. We're all
Right.
joined in suffering.
So how do we get past, because obviously early on in triathlon, we were just growing the sport of triathlon.
Right.
And we understood that a high tide floats all boats, and eventually the goal became let's get to the Olympics, and started the sport in '74, and then the next thing you know, and by '96, we were accepted in the Olympics. By 2000, it premiered. So it happened fairly quickly. But there's a lot of infighting in the sport where, when PTO started, they didn't say nice things about Ironman, and so I think there's people worried about their own turf.
Sure.
Their own turf.
And that's understandable.
Yeah, of course.
But I think we're at a place where we should all learn how to play in the same sandbox.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, probably the most important thing is that we have to look beyond our classic content to get there. Now, think about it. We've been on NBC, Fox 1, Fox 2, Peacock, probably, if I had to guess, I'm going to say over 50 times.
Right, between Clash Miami and Daytona.
Right.
And Watkins Glen.
Right, Watkins Glen. So if you look at the pure number of times we've been on TV, we're lucky enough through our relationships to produce the product.
Right.
And then we have a relationship to be able to get it on TV. We're very fortunate. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
And so we are going to have to learn to play in the same sandbox, which means all of the invested parties need to put their
You get the heads of the five families together. You get the heads of the five family. You got to get Don Corleone. We got to get all the rest of the guys together.
Agree not to shoot each other.
Agree not to shoot each other.
But I mean, I think to Bill's point, what we have going on this weekend, right? We have draft legal Olympic format racing on Friday.
Yes.
We have world-class middle distance non-draft racing on Saturday. And I don't think that's ever happened in our
Never.
You would know a little more than me. You've been around the block a little longer, but has that ever happened in our sport?
I don't think it's happened. I know that we've had world triathlon events in Hamburg, but I don't think they did an age group race or a pro. They certainly did a pro level PTO style or Ironman style race the same weekend. That's never happened, I don't think.
And that to me, as someone who's been in the sport for a long time, is very unique, and we're proud of it. And I think there's definitely something there for the future to grow, because triathlon isn't just Ironman. It's not just the Olympics.
Right.
It's not just your local mom and pop sprint. It's all of it.
Right.
Falls under the same sport.
Yep.
Same way running is the 100-meter dash, the 5Ks, the full marathon, and everything in between. Trail running and ultras, it's all part of the same sport, same ecosystem. And I think it's a good time to have these discussions and try to bring these groups together and really just elevate the sport as a whole.
how do you deal with every one of these groups has different sponsors? You've got different sponsors who are, competing in a lot of cases. So somebody's HOKA, somebody's On. Putting everybody on that same umbrella, it could be difficult.
Challenging.
Yeah.
But it's done all the time.
Yeah.
So, you look at a lot of these sports where you've got independent football teams and baseball teams, and they are shared sponsors, but yet they've got their stadium sponsors.
Right.
This is not something that is new to sports.
No.
Right? So maybe we just need to take a page out of somebody else's playbook and figure out how do we get this done. But again, the number one issue associated with this is getting all the stakeholders in a room saying, yeah, mountain biking, you're important to us. Skateboarding, you're important to us.
So you're even going to extreme sports?
Absolutely.
So, okay, because sometimes you look at that as a little bit of a disconnect because it's a different style of, skateboarding, snowboarding, that type of stuff is great, but does that fit into endurance? Or does it have to be endurance?
That's my point, is that it's content that people are watching. So do we have enough content? Question one.
Right.
Is it content people want to watch? Question two.
Yes.
Question three is, will people watch it?
Yeah.
Right? And then the sponsors will come. Look at Red Bull. They
Right.
proved it.
Right.
So I think the answer to that is, yes, you can work out the sponsors. It's being done now.
Right.
It's not unique. And the sponsors understand it, especially larger sponsors. And the thing that we don't have as a sport,
Larger sponsors.
we don't have the Pfizers of the world. We don't have
Even
the banks of the world.
Even Coca-Cola, but you look back in the 80s, we
Yep.
had Coca-Cola, we had Bud Light at one
yeah.
time.
Bud Light was big.
Yeah, we had Jamba Juice. We had some major companies.
Mrs. T's pierogies.
Oh, that was huge. Come on now.
That's the owner the Wayback Machine. Huh?
Look at you pulling the Mrs. T's card out. I like it. Tim
They were the
Twarczyk.
title sponsor of Chicago Triathlon. For
They were a
10
major
years.
sponsor of Ironman too. They handled the pasta party. You've had a pro gear too in your time.
One or two.
But so, Andre, what's your hopes from this weekend?
I think we want to put on a good show, show the industry what we're able to do, what we're capable of.
Yes.
As you know, we've got a lot of the big names in the industry are here, so yourself included. It's a great meetup, networking time.
Yes.
And get together and see what we can do for the future. I'm excited. We are hosting the Olympics in the U.S. in 2028, which I think will be a huge springboard for the sport of triathlon.
No question.
Especially coming off of Paris. I mean, we have a very high probability that we'll have some medals on the women's side in particular.
Yes.
But both on the men's side. And anytime we get medals in, let's call them non-mainstream sports,
it jumpstarts that sport.
it will jumpstart.
does.
And I think
And
if we get a
sponsorships.
jump start from the Paris Olympics leading into an Olympics on home soil in 4 years' time, we, I think, are prized for another growth in triathlon, and that's what I'm hopeful and excited for.
What's fascinating, I was just out at the Chula Vista Training Center, which used to be...
Been there before.
You've been there, right? And this is 2 days ago, and the head guy from Finland was there figuring out where his team's going to train leading into the 2028 games. So we haven't had 2024 yet. Everybody's already
Yep.
finding we want to be in the same time zone, want to be within a couple of hours of the Olympic Stadium, yada, yada, yada. So people are already thinking LA.
No question.
Right? Bill, when you look at where this started, right, with the Daytona distance and everything that happened from there to where it is today, when you look around and see banners for the different events, you've just got to be so proud.
Two things that I will share with you. The first is I remember 2018. We had 1,400 athletes at our first event.
Right.
Where does that happen? Right. And I saw Dylan McNeese here.
Yeah,
and
he was racing.
He was then, and the whole Daytona distance thing came out of Dylan's mouth. The weather was horrible. You know that whole story.
Yes.
But Dylan was the one who said, "Why don't we do it all here?" And I reminded him of that. I raced over that way.
Yeah, you were just down there
I was just
racing.
down there racing.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Podium, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, I got second in my age group, so I qualified, which is pretty exciting.
You qualified for Challenge Championship.
You qualified.
Going to Samarin, you're heading off?
Yeah.
Good man. We love it there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. You're bringing it, Geff and I, that's great. I like
Yeah,
that.
I am bringing you guys. Slouching a couple of my friends just to make sure I've got a cheering section.
On your private jet. I like that. Yeah, we'll
See if
take
I can
that.
get you
Yeah.
guys, cheering for the crowd. But yeah, seeing Dylan, being reminded of that story, and seeing where it is today, we're almost 3,500 athletes this year.
Yeah,
34 and
Daytona.
change.
Yep, across all the different events.
For this weekend.
No,
for
Daytona.
Oh, for Daytona, yeah.
Yeah, we've grown here by double digits this year, so
Awesome.
we're excited about that. But probably, the most groundbreaking thing besides the Daytona distance that has come out of that was the year we said we are going to put on a race. And everybody said,
Oh,
There's
COVID. Yeah.
not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen. And then the governor sent out that tweet congratulating us and wishing us the best of luck, which I think changed everybody's mind.
I think it did.
We had a great race. It was the first televised long course race. The ratings were amazing. We pulled higher ratings than most NCAA Division I football. You know that story. But at the end of the day, what it did was set a standard. And PTO were great partners then.
Yes.
We're excited to have them back here with us for their kickoff inaugural T100 series. This is a fantastic course for what they want to do.
Absolutely.
The bike handling requirements, as you remember, Lionel went over his handlebars last year in one of the tight turns.
Sarah Perez-Sella deciding to go up close and personal with a timing box.
She did. She got an award for that, though. I gave her the Golden Cone Award. Right?
Yes.
But with all of that said, being able to watch 30 draft legal athletes going at it on this course.
Probably closer to 70
Friday.
for the elite men's and
Yeah,
women's
for the
field.
men's.
Full field.
Full
Yes.
field. That's going to be nuts. And I got to tell you, I'm excited about that.
Well,
That's taking a page out of the NASCAR book, finally going draft legal, which is, that's NASCAR history. You guys all know you got to be in the pack, and that's what's going to make Friday's racing super exciting.
Yeah.
My favorite story was when NASCAR TV was shooting that first Daytona race, and we were talking to them beforehand and saying, you guys have covered triathlon before? No. Are you concerned about it? How fast they go? Up to 30. He goes, yeah, our guys are going 200. Okay,
We're good.
We'll sit in the back of a pickup truck at the top of the bank. We'll be eating sandwiches. We've got cameras, and we'll be fine.
Well, we're lucky enough to have they're back with us here.
Are they shooting?
They are. So
And
a lot of
NASCAR
stuff.
Productions is some of the best in the business.
You know what you guys
They
did?
have 13 Emmys in the building for their sports work over the years.
What they did for that Daytona race, where you had on the side,
Yep, the leaderboard.
You had the leaderboard, how fast, all the intel that people have always wanted was right there, right? Lionel Sanders is going 28 miles an hour. Andrew Starkowitz is going 27 miles an hour. And then how fast they're going on the run, what the gaps are. It was
pointers.
Everything,
I think
every aspect of it.
I think my favorite graphic was the baseball cards that slid out as one athlete passed the other.
Exactly.
And then the baseball cards slid out and showed the athlete's picture.
Because most races that we see, when they are televised, if you're in St. George and they don't have a chopper up, you get nothing, right? So you can't cover this. You've got cameras everywhere.
Everywhere.
And are they under the lights for Saturday?
We are racing under the lights.
Yeah, good
So
point
that's
to bring
first.
that one up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're
we're flipping the switch.
The last time I saw it was Lionel and Pedro.
Paula Finley.
And Paula was racing Lucy
And it was neck and neck
for both races.
Both races.
Under the lights.
up under the lights.
It was the coolest racing ever.
Yep.
It was so fun.
Yeah,
and so this will be the same.
This will be the same.
With deeper fields.
With deeper fields. I think the difference here versus Daytona is the complexity of the course on the bike. And so Andre has brought in, how many light banks did you bring in?
We've got a number, but I think the most interesting stat on the power draw for lighting these lights, it's
hitting the power grid?
Well, it hits the power grid, so there's some expense that goes with it, but it's enough energy per hour. It matches 700 square blocks of Miami.
You'd be lighting up 700 blocks. Instead, you're lighting up the
suburban
track.
Miami. So you think of 700 square blocks of a suburban area. The power draw of all those houses is what we use to light the track here.
Wow. And the nice thing from your guys' perspective, you've created this venue where, okay, USA Tri, you can come in here and, you can be part of this. And Ironman, you want to do a 70.3 here? Bring it on. We got the water, we got the track, we got the run. You can do it all here. And the same with T100.
We are definitely brand agnostic.
Why wouldn't you be? And the other thing that you and I chatted about 100 times is if you do a sprint race at 7 in the morning and it sells out, you add another one. It's not like you're worried about blocking off roads and parking. You can park and walk in. It doesn't matter. You could do a sprint championship all in one day and do 5 races if you wanted to.
We could.
Right?
We could. We've actually shut down sprint races and added times in the past.
Yes.
The Miami distance this year, we're excited about that.
And what is the Miami distance?
So the Miami distance is very similar to the Daytona distance. It's a little bit shorter.
Okay.
But we wanted people, what we heard loud and clear was the beginning of the season, we're not necessarily
ready for a full.
And this is age group athletes we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, my people in the 60
Me
to
and
death
you.
category.
Me
You
and
know,
you.
the slow guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Us out there having fun.
We're out there. Yes, we want to be in a beer garden by 9 a.m. So
And
You know
nothing
the-
wrong with that, right?
You know the beer garden's important to me.
it is. So what is that distance? It's a little
So-
over about a mile swim.
So it's a mile swim. You know what
It's 1 mile, 30 mile, and 8 miles. So longer than Olympic distance, not quite that 70.3 distance. So those people, early season race, you want to test your fitness, come out. It's
Yes.
great. You're not going to a full 70.3 or full distance. And those of you who have done sprints and maybe want to stretch a little bit, you're thinking about a 70.3. It's a nice way to just kind of see what that feels like, stretch the legs a little. So it's a good early season race, and that's the feedback we've taken. We're just a few days into March. So a lot of athletes have said to us that it's a little too early for doing a full 70.3.
Yep.
But they want more than a sprint. So
Well, if you think about it, when you were doing Daytona, it was just the opposite. It's been a long season. We want something a little shorter.
Well, I know that was also born out of necessity too.
You're right. You had pouring rain, but it was also like, you know what? We've done a lot of 70.3s. We've done a lot of fulls. Shorter is better at this point of the year.
It was brilliant. The athletes all came together and figured that one out.
Absolutely.
And we let them figure it out.
The other aspect of this, here you've got a weekend that's all about, you got pros, you got elites. At the same time, when you guys do Daytona with your addition of the Jingle Jog.
That's an amazing race.
It's what Andre has done. And talk a little bit about this guy and what he's brought to the table.
Yeah, first off, the ATC race. I mean, that was his baby.
Right.
And the Jingle Jog, he said, hey, look, I want to put on this 5K, and we're going to run through the lights.
Which are already up.
Which are already up,
Yeah,
by the way.
Daytona Speedway has the largest drive-through Christmas light display in the state. People pay the $25, drive the car through. It's 2 miles of Christmas
The largest.
lights.
I know. And so to be able to go,
I think it's the largest in the country.
The state of Florida,
One of the largest in the country.
it's big.
Sure.
It's huge.
It's huge.
But what's cool about that is it's already there.
Oh, yeah.
And you're basically saying, hey, you know what, we'll block off, what do you have to block off a road for a little
Not
bit?
even. No,
it's all on
they-
property.
they-
One intersection?
No, Andre
We-
started it in one Daytona where all the
Oh, yeah.
restaurants are.
Yeah.
You know, and the Grinch. And
Yes,
the Grinch
I know.
is amazing.
And
Yeah,
snow.
we have the
There's the
artific-
Grinch, there's snow, there's
Yeah,
Santa
our
Claus.
artificial snow
Come on.
machine at the finish line, and that's Friday night. That's the kickoff to our weekend of
know.
events in
Yeah.
Daytona, and it's
We had like 1,200 people.
Well, and the deal
in
is
the
that
second year.
weekend, if a pro shows up, great, but you're not needing the pros to sell the thing out. You're selling out
No, it's about
Daytona.
families. We had
It's a family weekend.
they bring out the strollers.
Yes.
We turn the Christmas music on through the whole stadium where the run goes
Yeah.
through. So it's just fun. I mean, that's what fitness should be. It doesn't all have to be grueling and exhausting, and it doesn't have to be the most difficult endurance test on earth.
Yes.
It can just be fun.
My favorite story is
Yes.
Shannon Spake. You know
Yeah,
Shannon.
yeah.
Shannon Spake's a
NASCAR.
sideline
Yep.
commentator for the NFL. And Shannon ran, I think, 7:05s casually. Her significant other crossed the line, went down to his knees, went flat on his back, and I'm pretty sure that she had to give him mouth-to-mouth. But it was a family event. They brought their kids out,
Yep.
and it was really special. And that was all Andre. So he continually raises the bar with crazy that turns into real, which turns into fun.
I was talking to USA Triathlon folks the other day because one of my concerns about the sport is in 2012 we had 2,000 triathlons in the United States. Now there's less than 700, right? The sport having venues like this where the average, and the biggest growth area is sprint and Olympic.
It is.
The Ironman and 7.3 and long is great, but you need a welcome mat. You need a place to start.
That's welcome mat is a great phrase. I mean, you need
It's a welcome mat, right?
You need the gateway drug. Or
Exactly.
welcome mat,
We
or,
are
whatever we want to think about
the
it. We need to get people involved.
The sprint triathlon is the welcome mat for our sport. And the problem is when over the years, people read about Ironman. They want to be Ironman. And then they get in. They don't start with a sprint. They don't start with an Olympic. They start with a 70.3. They train for 6 months, get their tattoo, and leave. They're out of our sport.
Right.
It becomes a bucket list rather than this is my life.
Right.
These are my people.
Right.
So what you guys are doing, creating the gateway drug, creating the welcome mat, is really what the sport needs more than anything else.
You know,
Well, and the lifestyle, right? You can
Totally.
You don't have to work out 6 days a week, 4 hours. You can.
My wife will divorce me if I ever do that again.
Exactly.
I'm divorced.
But
I'm moving in with you.
Well, it's a healthy lifestyle. So you can swim once a week, you can bike once a week, you can run once a week. Bare minimum, those are 3 workouts every other day. Kind of health. You know,
Yes.
you can go running with a group of friends. You
Yep.
don't have to try to drop somebody. It can
No.
be social, and you're still doing better than the guy sitting on the couch.
Well, and what I always tell people is that if you wore arm floaties as a kid, if you had a paper route, and if you play capture flag, you've got our skill set, right? You don't need anything more. You don't need to be an uber athlete. You don't have to have any hand-eye coordination whatsoever to come out and do our sport. You do a little swim, a little bike, a little run, and you're a triathlete.
We are amazed at the relay growth that we've seen, which
Yep.
I love seeing.
Because that leads into, that's our, again, another welcome mat for the sport is a relay.
It is. It is. A big fan. And you guys have made the case.
It's
right?
Yes. Well, I love what you guys are doing. It's going to be a spectacular weekend.
We're
Thank
excited.
you again for the hospitality. I can't wait. I've got Melissa Stockwell coming over in a little bit. Melissa was the first woman to lose a limb in Iraq and Afghanistan, and came back and went to Paralympics in 2008 in swimming. Was a flag bearer and took a bronze. You'll like this. She took a bronze in the first ever para-triathlon Paralympic Games in 2016 in Rio. And it was on September 11th of that year,
Wow.
and the U.S. swept the podium. So you had Elisa Seeley and Haley Dans and Melissa Stockwell on the podium, American flag, anthem going on 9/11. It was like the coolest thing in the world.
Right.
And so all those, the amount of stories that are underneath here that people don't know about it's amazing. It really is. Thank you, boys.
Oh,
Thank you,
Our
Bob,
pleasure,
as
Bob.
always.
It's such a treat to see people who understand and have that vision. We got to get the 5 families together.
we got to get more than the 5 families
There's
together.
more than 5.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah.
get,
But
yep.
at least the 5.
But we got to get everybody in the same room. But I agree with you. You need to know year-round that we've got, every Saturday there's a triathlon, there's a mountain bike event, there's a gravel event, there's something on Endurance Sports TV or whatever it is, so that people, once they see it, then they want to do it themselves.
Correct.
That NBC show, how many people did it drive into the sport of triathlon over the years?
I can't even tell you. I know that we had 935,000 sustained viewers, which are people who sat on the couch and watched the whole thing.
Wow.
I know we had 1.4 million in and out. The data since then is, I can't even quote it off the top of my head.
That's great.
So
the thirst is there. Yes.
It is. But we have to be able to provide it to people consistently so they understand where it is, which is why I'm a big proponent of having our own YouTube channel.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't believe it. I've got one. You can borrow mine for a while.
I'd love that.
Bill Christy, Andre Lapar, who have done amazing, amazing work down here in both Clash Miami and Clash Daytona. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you're in the area, come on out and check the racing on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Great weekend of racing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.